What's going on, guys? I know I'm late. I'm just getting back in town to where I have reception. That's right. My job sometimes takes me out of town where I don't have reception. So with that being said, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Dislike, give it a thumbs down. If you really like the video, subscribe to the channel because that is what helps me out the most. And when you sub to the channel, hit that notification bell. That way you can get updated when I drop the newest content like this. Even though this time it's a little behind par because I see a lot of people made this video. So let's get into the video. Me shoulder. So is Lomachenko pulling a Manny Pacquiao? Is that what is going on right now? I do not know. It is clear as day that he's actually had shoulder surgery. Now, was there something wrong with his shoulder going into the fight? It's a possibility, but I do want to tell y'all this. I get very leery when I see guys have shoulder surgeries and they don't release the full medical documents. I heard that it was some type of bruising, and that's really all that I read on Yahoo News. I looked around, couldn't really find any medical statements released. Here's the problem with can't even talk. Shoulder surgeries and boxing. This is an injury that a lot of fighters have. In fact, if you've been fighting for a very long time, I would say probably somewhere between 60 to 75% of fighters have shoulder issues. The problem is you're always rotating that shoulder. You're putting a lot of weight behind when you're hitting bags, hitting people, etc. You're doing things with your shoulders they weren't meant to do. So after overusing it a lot of people have things as simple as just bone spurs or calcium deposits built up in their shoulder. And that right there can cause you to get shoulder surgery. So without full medical documentation released, I'm going to say that I tend to not buy into these shoulder injuries. Now, had he dislocated his shoulder, that would have been different. Had he torn his rotator cuff, that would have been different. But that's not what I think happened from what I read. And I didn't see any signs of that during the fight. Now, some people want to argue that, well, he wasn't throwing punches at the start of the fight because his shoulder hurt. That could have been true if he didn't start throwing more and more punches as the fight progressed. If Lomachenko would have came out there, looked like from round 1 to round 12, then we could have a debate about how bad his shoulder was hurting. Then we could have a debate about why he was not letting his hands go. However, this is his right hand. So what about the left hand? Why wasn't he throwing the left hand? Yes, you can tend to be one-handed, but we've seen multiple times in fights, one-handed fighters only using one hand. He wasn't using any hands outside of the second round. And then up to the 7th round is when he started actually throwing punches. He threw punches with both arms. If his right shoulder was hurting, what is stopping him from throwing his left hand? Nothing. What is stopping him from circling, evading, dodging, countering with the left hand? Nothing. It's the right shoulder that hurts. It's the right shoulder that's injured. Here's the thing. Do I believe Lomachenko has a shoulder injury? Yes, that is apparent because he's in the hospital and he had surgery done. Do I think his bad performance was because of his shoulder injury? No, I do not. I believe that he fought a bad fight tactically. I believe he went out there, was trying to get Teofimo Lopez tired by making him miss. And the problem that he had was he made him miss, but he didn't make him get punished for missing. So by him not punishing Teofimo Lopez every time he missed by a mile, it caused Teofimo Lopez not to run out of steam, not to run out of gas, because all it was like swinging at a punching heavy bag, a moving heavy bag. That's all it was. So you can't get somebody tired like that. I've discussed this multiple times. Tactically, he fought a bad fight, and that is why he lost, in my opinion. I do not believe this shoulder injury caused him to lose. I don't believe he would have fought any different even if he didn't have this surgery. And I would question if he would have even have had this surgery had he not lost. Because you got to understand, a lot of fighters go their entire career without getting surgery done to the shoulders because you got downtime, recovery time, and a lot of people who are fighting often don't want to take that much time out of the ring. So they just deal with the pain. My shoulder's messed up. I've chosen all these years never to get anything done to it, but I have calcium deposits and bone spur on the joint. So it hurts when I do certain things, when I lift weights, when I punch, but it's a pain I've gotten used to. It's a pain that I deal with. Is the pain of that real? Yes. And I'm not saying that's what Lomachenko has. I'm just saying that until I see medical documents released saying he actually tore something, I strongly doubt it hindered his performance. Again, I do believe he had an injury because, like I stated earlier, most fighters do have shoulder injuries. But do I believe it inhibited him from being able to go out there and do as good as we've seen him do? No, I do not. If anything, if you want to use an excuse, and I'm not going to make excuses for him because a loss is a loss. If you want to have an excuse, then you can use 14 months of inactivity. It's the same thing that Nicholas Walters said when he lost to Lomachenko. He said, they shelved me, they didn't let me fight, I get in here, fight Lomachenko, I had too much ring rust, nothing I could do, so he quit. Well, Bob Arum, I won't say Bob Arum shelved him because we do have Corona going on, so I won't say it's the same in this aspect, but Lomachenko is now experiencing what Nicholas Walters experienced when he fought Walters. Walters hadn't fought for over a year, and now here it is. Lomachenko hadn't fought for over a year. He gets in there and looks the worst we've seen. Now, again, I'm not going to say that ring rust is the cause of this loss because I don't believe it is. I don't believe it was a shoulder. I don't believe it was ring rust. I don't believe it was inactivity. What I believe it was exactly what I said it was. He had a game plan, and his game plan was tactically bad. His game plan did not work. T.O. did not get tired like they had planned. Yes, he made T.O. miss. And yes, sometimes I do use CompuBox. And I'm not trying to be one of them people who use something to benefit them, but doesn't use it in other times. I'm not trying to be wishy-washy or flip-flopping between things. But I will say this. Watching the Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko fight, I really do question those CompuBox numbers because I saw a lot of punches miss. I saw a lot of punches land on the gloves, the elbows, the forearm, the shoulder. I saw a lot of punches just barely graze by that I don't even know if they really touched or not. And the numbers of what actually landed seem a little inflated, just like the scorecards to me. As me personally, looking at it, watching it, now I've watched it twice, and I still give that second round to Lomachenko, and I still have it a draw. I don't see how you give the second round to Teofimo Lopez. You can say, oh, T.O. did this, T.O. did that, he controlled it, but he was missing the entire second round. Again, when you have a guy who lands five really clean shots on you, and all you've landed watching it, maybe 10 or 11 punches T.O. landed, but they weren't clean. They barely nicked them. When you have 10, 11 punches that barely nick, but you've got another guy who's not only hit you 5 clean times, one of those of the 5 punches, 3 of those was a combo, bow, 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 with clean power shots, straights and hooks. Like, I'm sorry. Off that alone, I have to give it to the guy who landed the harder, cleaner shots when your punches are just grazing. They're not even really, they count, but they really not doing anything. They're just barely nicking. It's like being in a gunshot and getting grazed by a bullet or getting shot through the gut. Who do you think wins the gunfight? You could graze somebody 6 times, right? You graze them on the shoulder, you graze them on the arm. Yeah, you might cut their skin open. Yeah, they might be bleeding, but there's no real wound there. There's no real damage done. But they land one to your gut, guess what? They just won the gunfight. Again, glancing, grazing blows, I don't know. I mean, if they're both doing it, then okay, who landed the most? But if one guy clearly is landing super clean shots on you and you're not landing really anything, then I got to go with the guy that landed the clean shots, especially when the numbers are very close. It's not like T.O. landed 20, 30, 40 punches in the round, and that's all Loma landed. The punches, T.O. might have landed double, okay? Let's say T.O. landed double. Let's say it was 5 to 10 or 6 to 12, okay? Roughly just eyeing it, roughly. Well, you landed double the punches, but you didn't really hit him out of those double punches, so I have to sway it to the guy who landed clean shots. Again, that's how I see the second round. I still have it a draw in my mind, but these excuses right here, I believe are just excuses. And a shoulder injury is something that most people that fight walk around with every day of their life. If you've done it long enough, and as you get older, it just happens. It's like wear and tear on a motor. It happens because you're using something in a way it wasn't intended to be used too often, and eventually you start to get things to happen. So again, to close this out and to stop rambling, I don't really buy into it. In a rematch, if they were to have a rematch, I doubt they'll have a rematch because T.O. wants to move up. If T.O. did rematch him, you have to give T.O. a lot of credit because I don't think he has to rematch him. And I'm not going to say that he should rematch him, but if he does rematch him, then you got to give T.O. all the credit in the world for taking a risky fight that is actually more risky for him the second time around than the first one was. Because in the first fight, he really had nothing to lose. 23 years old, fighting a veteran who's considered one of the best pound-for-pound fighters. You lose, you're supposed to lose. You really didn't have nothing to lose. However, when you beat that guy, now you have all the momentum. Now you've got all those straps around your waist. Now you're over here saying that you're better than him. Well, if that same guy comes out and dogs you or embarrasses you, especially coming off of a surgery, then you're going to have all the excuses coming out like, oh, see, we told you Lomachenko was just injured. That's all it was. Now that he's 100%, he worked him over easy. See, that's what you fall into the trap of if you give Loma a rematch. So again, that's why I say if T.O. was to rematch him, you got to give him all the credit in the world because he's got way more to lose in a second fight than Lomachenko does at this point in time. Other than that, that's all I got to say. Hit up the comment sections. As you see on my other one where I got more thumbs downs for the first time than I got thumbs up, I had a bunch of haters commenting, but I commented to every single comment. Whether you talk stuff, whether you agreed, disagreed, or whether you needed some clarity, I always respond because I appreciate, even if you don't sub to the channel, I appreciate it when you comment. And because of my appreciation of your comment, whether it agrees or disagrees with me, I will always return a comment back to you. Thank you all again for watching.